much for joining us on the Buzzworthy Women podcast. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to our guest, Bobbie Carlton. Bobbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleased to be here, and I love the name of your podcast.
Awesome. Thank you. So tell us about you, who you are, what you do, and what your passions are.
Okay, so great invitation. I will happily take you up on that. I usually tell people that I have many jobs, and the day job is I run a PR and marketing firm. The night job for many years was a second company called Mass Innovation Nights. And the dream job is Innovation Women, which is an online speaker platform. And on top of that, because, I didn't have enough going on, I also bought 2 more companies during the early days of the pandemic, because why not? I bought a research service for professional speakers called My Speaker Leads. And I bought a digital magazine for women entrepreneurs called Lioness. That's
it.
all.
That's it. Anything else? I mean, you can list more.
I'm thinking about writing a book.
Starting a podcast. I mean, come on.
Yeah, why not? I long ago and far away worked in radio, and I have a broadcasting degree. I need to use it.
Absolutely. It's funny when I was, doing my research before our interview, it's like, okay, usually I do founder of or CEO of, and your list was so long. I'm like, wait a second. That's is that true? I'll just let her do the intro. So I love that you have all of those things, that you are a woman of many, many hats. And that just shows that you're passionate about what you do and that you love what you do for sure.
Absolutely. And it all makes sense because there is a thread that goes through all of these things. And that thread is, and this is why I love the name of your podcast. It's visibility, and visibility that drives business and career opportunities. So I always tell people, every time you get a chance to tell your story, whether it's on stage, in a podcast, in person, virtual, whatever,
Yeah.
you are being gifted with opportunities to make connections.
For sure. And that it just sounds like you have such a passion not only for speaking your story and telling your story, but also for women specifically, right?
Yeah, although my second company, Mass Innovation Nights, that was for everybody. That was a company that I put together, which was designed to help local entrepreneurs get visibility for their new products. And we launched over 1,500 new products that got more than $4 billion in funding. Wow. And during that time, it was for everyone. We did do some research toward the end of our 11-year run, which basically said of the founders we worked with, it was about 45% women founders. And I was very proud of that.
That is phenomenal. I love that. I mean, the entrepreneur space needs so much help and support, and women inside of that is just another little niche that needs a little extra boost and champions behind them too. So I love that you support,
especially around funding. Women get such a tiny fraction of the venture capital money that's out there. So that's actually one of the reasons I'm so interested and push public speaking, because every time we get on stage, we get that visibility, which helps drive everything from pay equity to funding for our startups.
Love that. So that is basically Innovation Women. That's how you help through that business. Is that correct?
Yes. So Innovation Women is an online platform. We have about 2,500 speakers, and we connect them directly with event managers. We're not like a traditional speakers bureau. We also have a database that on any given day has 500, 600, 700 different calls for speakers. And a
Wow.
single call for speakers can represent hundreds of speaking opportunities.
Oh my goodness. So, how did you become so passionate about supporting women speakers, speaking yourself? Where did this all originate from?
It actually didn't originate from my own comfort with public speaking because I wasn't. Um, I'm an
Who really is,
introvert.
though, right?
Yeah. Well, I actually think there are people, the extroverts of the world who are like, yes, I should be a public speaker. I'm an extrovert. But I will say that I feel like introverts like me, you're good at preparing. You're good at doing the research. You're thoughtful. So one of my passions is encouraging other introverts and saying, yes, you can be a fabulous public speaker. So I think extroverts are a little bit more inclined to wing it
Yeah.
because they are comfortable being on stage and being out there. And so introverts unite. You can be a great public speaker. Don't let the extroverts tell you otherwise.
Well, I'll piggyback on that because I am an introvert as well. And so I
See?
got out of my comfort zone when I started my podcast because I knew how important it would be to give me a voice, to position me as a thought leader, to give me a space to have connections and communications and make a difference. And so when I started, I was very hesitant because it's like, sure, I have something to say, but I'm not going to be the first one to step out in front of the crowd and, tell everybody what it is I have on my mind or the skills or whatever it is. And so I'm more thoughtful and, I think more before I speak. And so this has been a huge journey for me as an introvert to get out of that sort of fear and step on stage, if you will, as a podcast host. So you're totally right. We could do it. And I
Yes.
find that I enjoy it too, especially in this format of the, interview style. It's really like having a conversation. And I tell people it's like, just two people talking and everybody else just gets to benefit from listening afterwards.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, when you say the words public speaking, they have a very limited view of that. They think about it as one person on stage by themselves, speaking to a room filled with people, when in fact, public speaking can be podcasting, it could be virtual events, it could be being on a panel, it
Mm.
could be co-presenters. There's so many different styles and options for public speaking. You don't have to be on stage by yourself.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that standing alone by yourself on the stage is the biggest fear. And people who are hesitant, that's their biggest fear is standing there alone. But like you said, there's other mediums of, achieving the same thing and kind of getting yourself out there, or at least, warming up to the individual solo on the stage sort of approach.
Yeah, you don't have to vault into the keynote position day one. You can work up to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so when you have people come to you and to Innovation Women who are like, oh, I'm interested in being a speaker, but I don't know how to get started, don't know if I could be a speaker. How do you guys help them to get started?
So there are many different paths to public speaking, just as there are many different kinds of public speaking. But if somebody is a little bit reticent, the first thing I do is I talk to them about the benefits of public speaking. And the benefits are there's a multitude of benefits. Like there are so many different benefits to public speaking. It's everything from there is a direct correlation between higher salaries and public speaking. You get to make so many incredible connections through public speaking. I mean, think about being on a panel with your peers at an industry conference and event. Number one, no one ever sees you as a leader when you're sitting in the audience. You want to be on the stage. But
Yeah.
when you're on that stage, in the speaker's room, hanging out with the other speakers, you're making these incredibly powerful connections with other VIPs, the other
Yeah.
people who have been asked to do public speaking. And you're making connections with people in the audience. They know who you are. They know something about your area of expertise. Often there's a biography and the program, so they know about your background. And on
Yeah.
top of that, I don't think a lot of people think this way, but you're making connections with more than the people who are in the room at the moment.
Mm.
Think about it. If I happen to say something particularly brilliant, somebody hears me say it, and they tell somebody else about it, I've made a second degree connection. Somebody
Yeah.
has heard my name, they've heard my brilliance, and they say, oh, that sounds interesting to me. I'm going to go and look Bobbie up. I'm going to connect with her on LinkedIn. I'm going to go to other events that she speaks at. So there are all these different kind of secondary connections we make, but
Mhm.
I'm going to add another layer on top of that. When you are marketing an event or a conference, what's the first thing that you promote?
Your
Oh, look at
speakers.
our speakers. Right. So all of the marketing of the events features the speakers. So
Mhm.
even if somebody doesn't decide to go to that event and hear you, if they're a member of that group or they see
Mhm.
the marketing for that event, they know your name, they know your company name, they know your area of expertise, and maybe that sticks with them.
Yeah.
So, huge opportunities when you are engaging in public speaking to make connections.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned the marketing side of things because myself as a marketing girl, I can relate. I love it. Right. So I'd love to hear is there any correlation or how do you leverage your Carlton PR and marketing firm for the speakers? Do you thread them together in any way to help support the women speakers?
Yes.
Of course. I hope you would say yes.
It's all related. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of different ways, but people often say to me, okay, you've got this database. Now what? Well, number one, we promote that database to event organizers,
Mhm.
to journalists. Like I have a whole team of people that all they do is market stuff. So
Yeah.
we've got a very active social media presence. I've got a team of writers. It's like, hey, 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 content creation and content
Yes.
marketing. So I think that we have kind of this natural advantage because we have this marketing firm that is part and parcel of what we do every day. So
Yeah.
we are always thinking about innovation women and how we can market it better.
I love that. And I think, it's strategic to position yourself in that way. And like you said, you purchased other companies and there's still that common thread, right? And so you have to be mindful as a business owner when you do go into these different ventures that you're not splintering, right? So that
Mm.
you are still cohesive or like you said a thread of commonality between the businesses or the things that you do because one can lend itself to the other and vice versa, and that's really how I think as business owners you can grow and continue to grow is by taking that approach.
Absolutely. When my speaker leads was first dangled in front of me, I was like, it's got a 3-person full-time research team that all they do is go and look for speaking engagements. Yes, I'll buy that.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
yes, please. And then Lioness Magazine, okay, like we don't just vault into speaker roles. Like people are chosen for speaking because they've created a foundation and a reputation for excellence, for thought leadership. So, what's a way to be seen as a thought leader? Oh, let's see. Contributing articles to magazines, having your book be featured as book of the week, having your
Mhm.
podcast be part of a series that's in Lioness Magazine. Like it's all related. Come on.
Yes. It's the
So
layered approach. I love that because it's like one lends itself to the next, and then it's just you continue to layer and layer and layer until you get to, this perfect, beautiful marketing piece that you oh, so beautiful.
chef's kiss.
So speaking of this, so what came first? Was it marketing or the speaking, or did they all kind of coincide?
So in November of 2008, the startup that I was working with ran out of money. And I was the head of marketing for a book company. And so you kind of see where this is going. But my background, I had been the head of global public relations for a bunch of big enterprise software companies. And part of my job was getting executives on stage at conferences and events. I trained people in public speaking, I placed them. And confession time, I am part of the problem because, like, the first 20 years of my career, all of the executives I worked with were men.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's just that's who the management team
Yeah,
was in a lot of these
absolutely.
big software companies. That's what I had to work with. And when you hear the numbers, 2/3 of all conference speakers are men.
Mm,
It's like, I am the problem. I need to fix this. I need to take responsibility. I need to
yeah.
step forward, encourage my ladies to move forward with me, jump on stage, because all this time training other people and getting executives on stage, who wasn't getting on stage? That would be me. And my second company was an events company. I'm helping promote local entrepreneurs and local new products and startups. And that first night, that first event, I still kind of remember going into it going, I'm going to have to be the MC. I'm going to have to speak. Oh, good God, what have I done? And,
I've
like
set
that first
myself up for
night,
this.
yeah, like I did this to myself. But that first night, I was wearing a blazer, over my shirt. Thank God, because I swear I sweated through my blouse completely. And it I call it Innovation Nights a social media powered event. The
Mm,
idea was to basically tap everybody's social networks and help promote local startups. I figured, we have 200 people in a room who are all tweeting, oh, sorry, Xing, posting. I don't even know what you
yeah, I
call it
don't know
anymore.
what back then it was tweeting. So you're
Back then it
correct.
was tweeting. I'm going to stick with that. People were taking pictures and video and posting stuff. So there are, like a million pictures of me being a hot, sweaty mess. And probably not doing such a hot job with the hostessing and the emceeing and the speaking part either. You see that, and I think, you have one of two reactions. You either go, never doing that again, or you
Yeah.
go, I will do better. I was in the I will have to do better group.
Yeah.
Because people walked out the door that first night and said, we'll be back next month, right? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So that first night, looking at the pictures, what have I done? I better get better at this. And we did 137 events over an 11-year period.
Wow.
By the 130 at least, I was decent, and people were asking me to MC other events or to speak on panels and speak at their events. And I'm like, I guess I got better through practice. And
Yeah.
you also spend time on stage. You're also spending time in the room with other fantastic speakers, and you learn every step of the way. If you
Yeah.
keep your eyes open and you always feel like you're going to school every living minute, you will do better. You can't help
Yeah.
yourself. So, that path kind of led me to the importance of public speaking. And Innovation Women is my third company. I always tell people I did Innovation Women because, can I swear on this show?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I
Have
got
at
pissed
it.
off. I got pissed off.
Yeah.
I guess that's swearing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was annoyed. I kept going to conferences where I would see what I call the male, pale, and stale panels.
I love that.
Same 4 old white guys. So many conferences. And you're sitting in the audience and you're sitting next to brilliant women who sometimes know more than what's going on the stage. And you go, why aren't you up there?
Yeah.
And, and often they would be like, oh, I wasn't invited. I'm like, you do realize there's like a call for speakers that goes out like 6 months ago. And all you had to do is write in your name and tell them what you'd talk about. And you'd be up there too.
Yeah.
So
But they don't
I
know
think
that.
right. But there's education, and,
Yeah.
you're also talking to the busiest people on the face of the earth. If you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women are more likely to work part-time. Women are more likely to be working for smaller companies that don't have anybody to backfill for them. They may not have the resources to send people off to a conference. And, if you're working 3 days a week, taking 3 days of a week to go to a conference might not be practical.
Yeah.
And, oh yes, by the way, we're still more likely to be responsible for kids at home. So you want me to go to a conference too?
Well, I think the interesting thing is that obviously with what you're doing, this mindset is shifting, and
Yes.
more women are getting on stage and becoming business owners, right? Because that's another thing too. Like not a lot of women are entrepreneurs or business owners previously, but now it's like the statistics are rising. It's like not so much of there's a smaller gap between male business owners, male speakers, female business,
There's
all of that.
actually more. There are
Really?
more women. There are more women business owners.
I love it.
If you look at the stats, yes, there are more women. However, they tend to crowd in certain areas. And why wouldn't they? Like, you're a woman business owner or you're a wannabe entrepreneur. You look at the landscape and you say, well, 2% of women, 2% of venture capital money goes to women. Well, I guess I'm not getting funded, am I? So I better create a company that doesn't need venture capital, which basically wipes the slate of women who are going to be targeting those high growth companies that need venture money.
Very
So,
true.
there's all kinds of causes and effects of this type of stat being out there. If you look at that percentage of venture money that goes to women founders, like less than 2%, and you say, okay, those are the companies that are going to grow quickly, that have exits, that are going to put equity money in the pocket of the founders. And so few of them are women. Well, then angel investing will see a dearth of women, and investing in other companies and limited partners. And so it's like, we're going to have some problems with the venture world when it comes to women entrepreneurs. So women will cluster in places where they don't need that money.
Right. Which are certain industries is what you're saying. Yep.
Retail, It's like that is where when you're funding a retail enterprise, you're probably more likely to go to your local bank or to max out your credit cards or do something bootstrapped.
Right. Yeah. And I'm assuming there's probably a lot more women in the coaching space and consulting space, because I don't know if that's just in our nature, but
We want to be helpful.
yeah. Well, I mean, you are a wealth of knowledge and very insightful. And I love, sharing this time with you. I'd love for you to give us kind of a final piece of advice, whether that be for women as speakers or women in business. Just any final thoughts for our listeners today.
One of the things that I talk to people about all the time is public speaking and getting started. But I think that women wait too long to get started with public speaking. Like we always think about public speaking as being the area that you get into when you're in the C-suite or, you've retired and now you're an expert. Like start earlier with public speaking. Start when you are mid-tier, when you are just getting started yourself. You don't have to go after massive conferences and the keynote slot. Start with panels, start with the breakouts. Start getting comfortable with public speaking so you can build on that comfort and build on that resume and work up to the bigger opportunities. So start now. And if you're thinking about this in terms of, oh, it's too hard for me to get started, like being a public speaker about speaking at a conference, go to the conference and ask a question from the audience. That is an awesome way to get started. If you think about it this way, getting started with public speaking by asking a question from the audience means you are talking to the exact same audience that the speakers on stage were talking to.
I love that. That's a great tip. Great tip.
Let's get started. Just do it. It's the best thing that you can do for your career and for your business.
Love it. Well, how can people get in touch with you, Bobbie?
Innovationwomen.com.
Awesome.
Easy
And
peasy.
then I'm sure LinkedIn is probably a good network connection place for you as well.
Absolutely. Bobbie, Bobbie, Carlton. There is actually a Bobby Carlton. That's not me.
That's not me.
That's not me. You can find me.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you again for your time and for sharing your knowledge and expertise and just being a advocate for women and for women in speaking. I think that anyone listening to this who has maybe thought about it should hopefully reach out to you and talk about making it happen.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for hosting today.